Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I think I have an exciting one. That is a side-by-side comparison of the all-new 2023 Chevy Colorado Z71 in its fully loaded form versus that of a Ford Ranger in its current generation. As we know, there is a new Ranger right around the corner, I think actually later this month. They're going to be debuting a new next generation Ranger here in North America in the United States. But I thought this would be a good comparison to make because this is a Ranger that a lot of owners out there currently own that might be considering upgrading to a next generation Colorado, so that's why I have the next generation truck here. So today we're going to take a side-by-side look of both trucks, see what each one has to offer, see what the similarities and differences are here in their current form factors. So before we get into this video, I want to give a huge thanks to Green Chevrolet here in East Moline, Illinois for providing the Colorado seen in this video behind me. If you guys are interested in purchasing a new next generation Colorado, this one is actually unsold as of the filming of this video, but I know the interest is crazy in these new next generation trucks, so I'm sure they will sell quickly. I'll go ahead and have more information down in the description below. Reach out to Logan here at the dealership. He's a fantastic salesperson. He'll definitely help you out in purchasing one of these new trucks or any other inventory here on the lot. So like I mentioned, the two trucks in front of us are a 2019 Ford Ranger Lariat four-wheel drive with a few additional option packages. I'm not exactly sure what the exact window sticker or all of the option packages on this particular truck is, but I do know it is fairly well equipped for a 2019 model year. And on my right, I do have a 2023 Chevy Colorado Z71 Convenience Package 3 with the 20-inch alloy wheels and a few additional option packages as well. But overall, these are two trucks that definitely compete with one another, even though this is the outgoing or the last generation Ranger at this point. And despite that being a last generation Ford Ranger, there are already a couple differences and kind of features and options that I know you still cannot get here on the next generation Colorado, which is actually interesting because if you go back and look at the historical generations of this exact Ranger, then you'll know that we got it here in North America about halfway through its current generation. It was actually available overseas for several model years before we got it here in North America. So it is interesting to see just kind of the feature differences that these two trucks have. But overall, given that they're both mid-size, they're both turbocharged 4-cylinders, there is actually a lot in common. So starting at the front of these two trucks, you'll find a lot of similarities in the overall equipment and the forward lighting that they have. So here on this Lariat, you did get LED projector headlights back in 2019 even, with LED daytime running lights, incandescent turn signals in the center portion with LED fog lights down below. One of the differences at the front end you will notice is this truck has front parking sensors, which you still actually cannot get here on the next generation GM trucks. This does have some aftermarket modifications, so keep that in mind. I believe this is like a Ranger Raptor type of grille for the aftermarket with the LED indicator lights and these LED fog lights or light bars down below. Those appear to be aftermarket, but outside of that, I believe this is a factory front end. You'll find black recovery hooks with it looks like a silver skid plate down below. Looks very aggressive, and the Lariat trim, of course, does get the darker painted bumpers with the side trim, which gives it more premium look, in my opinion, over that of the standard matte black plastic. And this does have a bug deflector or rock shield on the hood as well, which does not come from the factory. But moving over here to the Colorados, given this is a Z71, all of them will come with LED projector headlights, daytime running lights, and incandescent turn signals in this upper portion right here with LED fog lights down below. You can get the LED projector lighting on the LT Convenience Package 3, and once again comes standard on every Z71 equipped truck. You do have the red recovery hooks down below with your lower air dam, which sits a little bit lower than that of the Ford over there. Not exactly sure if that was removed by the previous owner on that truck or if this is exactly how it comes from the factory. But as a whole, each truck looks very similar. I would say the new Colorado does look a little bit more aggressive. It's not as rounded off as the Ranger over here. You can really tell in the hood height and just how far up it sits versus that of the hood on the Ranger over there, where it does slope down quite a bit, kind of a traditional SUV or even a car for that matter. So when you kind of look at them at eye level, you'll see that the Colorado definitely sits up quite a bit higher, at least here at the far edge of the hood versus that of the Ford over here. One of the nice advantages of the new Colorado and Canyon is the fact that you do have the 360 surround view camera systems. That is part of the technology package with adaptive cruise control and everything like that on this particular truck. Although the Ford, this one does actually have the Ford Copilot 360 Assist, which does have adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and most of the newer technology, at least that was offered on this generation of Ford Ranger. Now taking a look at the sides of the two trucks, there's a little bit of a difference here as well. Like I said, this is the Lariat, so it does get the gray metallic painted wheel arch flares around the front and rear fenders. Over here on the Colorados, as we know or seen in the press vehicles, including the ones that I saw at the Chicago Auto Show, the Z71 was shown with plastic fender flares. Well, that is an additional accessory that you do have to select while building the truck. Otherwise, all these Z71s and LTs will just come with the painted fenders and the bedside as seen on this particular truck. So you can see this is just the body color over here, where you do have the two-tone effect over there on the right side. This one is riding on the optional 20-inch alloy wheels versus the standard 18s over here on the Ford, although 18-inch wheels do come standard on the Z71. Both of them will come with an optional all-terrain or do have the option for a fairly aggressive tire in each of these two versions. Coming over here to the mirrors, you'll see you do have the black mirror caps with the camera on the bottom for the 360 camera system. Heated mirrors, does have blind spot detection, and you do have proximity entry on both front door handles via that button right there. This has the normal silver badges. You can get black ones as an option. Over here on the Ford, you can see the Ranger Lariat badge here on the front fender with the gray metallic paint. Body color mirror caps, you do have incandescent bulb turn signals here on the right side. There is a puddle light on the bottom, but no camera system. They are going to be heated, and it does have blind spot detection. And one thing I do like about this Ford is it has proximity entry, the touch sensitive type, on all 4 door handles. So that's actually something you cannot get on the Colorado or the Canyon. But there's a good look at the side view of the Ford Ranger. And moving back to the Colorado, you can see it just sits up a little bit higher in my opinion. I'm not exactly sure what the ground clearance differences are, but to me it looks like it's just a little bit bigger, beefier all around. And again, that should be expected because I think Chevy did target to make this truck a little bit bigger versus that of the last gen or some of the competitors. Now coming to the back of the Colorado, you will get partial LED lighting. So you have your LED running lights, incandescent brake, turn signals, and reverse lights. A nice gloss black rear bumper with the rear park assist. Integrated bedside steps, of course, that's a thing that GM has been doing on a lot of their trucks over the last few generations. Integrated tow hitch as part of the advanced trailering package. There's your backup camera. It does have a lockable tailgate. It is not an electronic release like that of their full and 3/4 ton trucks, but it does have the soft open, which is a very nice feature. And integrated into the tailgate, as we know, is the stow flex system. So when you open these latches right here, you can lift up and you get an integrated storage compartment, which is very innovative in my opinion for using a little bit of normally wasted space that you would otherwise just not use in a truck tailgate. This one does have the integrated drop-in bed liner with storage compartments that I talked about in my last video. I'm not exactly sure what those compartments are for or what the storage aspect of them is, but just know this is the drop-in bed liner with the integral storage compartments. All Z71s will come with the integrated power outlet here in the bed, as well as there is one inside of the cabin. But overall, that's a look at the rear side of the Z71. Nice integrated measurement or ruler here on the edge of the tailgate. Now coming over here to the Ranger, you're gonna have a very similar sized bed, so there's really not a huge difference between the two trucks there. You do have nice full LED lighting in the back, which is one upgrade. This does have the blind spot radar detection as well, and I believe this will do the trailer depending on how far back it is from the truck. You can see the rear bumper on the Ranger is a nice gray metallic to match the rest of the truck. Rear parking sensors, there's your integrated tow hitch, backup camera, paint match handle. And I don't know if this one doesn't have the soft open tailgate from the factory or if something is just broken on it, but you can see it does have the factory bed liner on this particular truck. There does not appear to be any sort of outlet in the bed, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But again, this is a last generation truck. So that's the real difference there. The tailgate is fairly light as it is. But as a whole, there's the back end of the two particular trucks. I would say I definitely like the new Colorado just a little bit better. So I first want to start with the interior here on the Ford Ranger. This one has the black leather interior option. Starting out on the door panel, you'll find several hard touch materials, although the armrest itself is a nice leather material with the accent stitching. Power windows, mirrors, and locks. You'll find your mirror controls. They are actually power folding on this particular truck, which is something you really don't typically see in the midsize space. Looks like the truck actually has to be turned on to get them to fold. But your mirror controls are up here next to the driver instrument cluster. But as a whole, the door panel itself is going to be mostly hard touch plastics. There is a fair amount of storage in the lower section. Coming over here to the driver's seat, this is a partially powered driver's seat with two-way power lumbar. There is the manual recline control right here. Just the black leather seating surfaces with the off-white stitching. There's your Ranger kind of stamped in the backrest right there. And immediately we'll be greeted to the Ford chime that has been around for decades, and a lot of the same technology here on the inside as well. So we can see here in the gauge cluster, this is something that they've used in many of their models over the last decade, is the split LCD screens on the left and right side of either the tachometer or in this case, the speedometer in the center. You can control them here on the left and right side of the steering wheel, depending on which screen you want to control. This does have adaptive cruise control. Like I mentioned, this is your gap assist here on the left side. Your phone, Bluetooth, media controls here on the lower right side. It does have lane keeping assist, I believe auto high beam assist, and rain sensing wipers here on the right side. To the left of the steering wheel, automatic headlights, fog lights, gauge illumination, and bed lighting as well. The dashboard has a nice soft touch stitch texture. This does have the Bang & Olufsen upgraded premium audio system, which is pretty nice. This is your Sync 3 infotainment system. I believe it's 8-inch in size, so you can control your audio, climate, navigation built in, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and of course you can control the heated seats and other climate controls here as well. So fairly nice for back in 2019, although I would argue it's in need of an update, and I believe the newer trucks did come with a new version of Sync as well, which did help the interior just a little bit. Below that, you have all of your physical controls for the radio, as well as the dual zone automatic climate control, heated front seats like I mentioned, USB-A charge and data ports down below. This does have a 2-speed transfer case, 4 high, 4 low, 2 high, as well as integrated traction management, which includes normal, grass, gravel, snow, mud and ruts, as well as your sand drive modes. And in front of that, you do have some more buttons to control the vehicle, including the hill descent control, engine stop start on off, rear locking differential, trailer select, parking sensors on off, as well as your traction control off. This does have the 10-speed automatic transmission, manual e-brake here in the center, 2 large cup holders. There's your traditional proximity entry, nicely padded center armrest, I will say, with a little bit of additional storage inside. Up top, light gray headliner, garage home link, auto dimming interior rearview mirror, LED overhead lighting, and it looks like it does still have an integrated sunglasses holder, which is handy if you particularly like those things. No sunroof in this truck, and it does not have a power sliding rear window. And take a look here in the back seat. Most of the materials on the door panels will be the same. So you have mostly hard touch with just your softly padded armrests. You do have the lock and unlock function here on the back doors, which is interesting. You don't typically see that in the mid-size truck space, but GM does do that on some of their other vehicles, which is nice. There's a look at the rear legroom. We'll go ahead and step inside. Step in height is fairly easy, although I do have to duck my head just a little bit for this area right here. Take a look at the front dashboard. Out back, you do have USB-A charge ports, as well as a 110, 150 watt wall outlet, mat pockets on both of the front seats. Headroom is very good in this truck. You do have the manual sliding window, like I mentioned. Center armrest with 2 cup holders. And since the front seats are kind of scalloped here in the center, that does allow for additional legroom. And you can see behind my rough driving position, I would say I have maybe roughly 2 inches of rear legroom. The footroom is pretty tight. They aren't touching, but they are pretty much as close to touching without touching as possible. And in terms of headroom, I would say I have somewhere around 2 to 3 inches of headroom here, pushing my back all the way to the back seat. But overall, I would say it's not too bad here in the back seat of the Ranger, typical for a mid-size segment of truck. And the seats themselves are fairly comfortable here with this leather seating package. Now, wrapping it up here on the passenger front seat, you will find an amenity that you will not find on the Chevy Colorado, and that is the power passenger seat with 2-way power lumbar. This does have the manual recline just like that of the driver's side. But if you do want a power passenger seat for the GM trucks, you will have to move over to the GMC Canyon lineup. There's your glove box. You have the same matte paint here on the dashboard as that of the exterior and the door panels. But that's a look on the interior of the current or last generation Ford Ranger, depending on how you want to look at it. Let's go ahead and move over here to the new Chevy Colorado Z71. You're going to find very similar materials throughout the interior, although there are some key differences. So starting out here on the door panel, you're going to have hard touch plastics as well as some soft touch materials here on the armrest or around that area in general. So this is all hard touch. You do have some silver accent plastics, and this material, although is soft touch, it is a textured material versus that of the smooth leather surfaces found over there on that Ranger. I do really like the red accent stitching. Power windows, mirrors, and locks. You'll find a memory driver seat here with the Convenience Package 3 Z71. And the storage, I would say, is just a little bit less than that of the Ford Ranger. You have this nice pocket and then a bottle storage down below, but outside of that, the door pockets are pretty scarce in terms of the overall storage. Here is your fully powered driver's seat with two-way power lumbar, so there is no manual adjustments at all. It is full power. And this is the leather interior found with that convenience package 3, and all of the red accent interior is pretty much standard on every Z71. And immediately here on the inside, I would say the interior design of the Colorado just looks a little bit more modern, aesthetically pleasing, and I would say the technology is a little bit more up to date as well. So in front of the driver, you do have the 8-inch fully digital LCD display that is standard on every Colorado. Unfortunately, to get the larger screen, you do have to get the ZR2 Colorado or the Canyon Denali or AT4X. You can control it here on the right side of the steering wheel. I have a full dedicated video going over that in detail, so I'd make sure to check that video out if you're interested in the gauge cluster as well as the infotainment system. And this is the standard 11.3-inch infotainment system with built-in Google integration, which allows you to use Google Maps, the Play Store, sign into your Google account, and use some other functionality, which is great to see in my opinion, and should enhance the user experience quite a bit. This does have wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, XM, AM, FM, USB, Bluetooth inputs as well. This particular truck does have the Bose premium audio with the center channel speaker, which is a nice upgrade if you guys saw my test drive video. But as a whole, I'd say the technology in general is just a big upgrade over that of the Ford. Leather wrap steering wheel with the red accent stitching. This truck does have the technology package with adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, high beam assist. Some of the other safety systems are going to be standard, which is nice to see on these new trucks, but adaptive cruise control is optional. This does not have rain sensing wipers, unfortunately. And to the left of the steering wheel, you'll find your gauge illumination as well as your trailer brake controller, but you will not find a headlight or fog light switch because that is all done here on the infotainment system itself. Love it or hate it, this is where you will control your headlights via this shortcut, or you can go into the settings to configure that just a little bit further. Dual zone automatic climate control, heated and ventilated front seats, so it's nice to see ventilation finally become available as an option. I really appreciate that as part of the convenience package 3. You can roll all 4 windows down via this button, engine stop start on off, hazard button, lane keeping assist, and this is your auxiliary button, which I believe turns the 120 volt outlets on and off here on the inside, or both the bed and the one here on the inside simultaneously. USB-C and USB-A charge ports and data ports. Here's your wireless charging pad here in the center console. Here's your 2-speed transfer case as well as your drive mode select. So you can see it does have an auto mode, 2 high, 4 low. And turning this knob will change your drive modes. You can see you do have terrain, normal, tow haul, and off-road. Electronic parking brake. And there is your gloss black trim that surrounds all of that. 2 large cup holders. Here's your proximity key fob, remote start built in. Textured armrest here, which is a little bit rough on the arm, I'm not gonna lie, but that is what GM chose to put on this particular trim level. Inside you will find a 12 volt outlet, more storage space, and that removable tray with the padding. Up top you will find a black headliner. Same illumination, interior auto dimming rearview mirror, OnStar, overhead incandescent lighting, and your passenger airbag sensor. So as a whole, that is pretty much the interior or front seat of the next generation Colorado. You can see it does not have a power rear sliding window. Now take a look at the back seat of the Colorado. A lot of the materials will fall through similar to that of the front. So you have a mostly hard touch plastic upper door panel with the soft touch armrest here with the red accent stitching. Just enough for 1 bottle storage here in the door. And there's a look at the rear seat space. Go ahead and step inside. I will say I don't have to duck my head quite as much as that of the Ford Ranger, although they are very similar. In the back, you will have 2 cup holders up here on the top of the center console, AC vents, USB-A and USB-C charging, and a 120 volt outlet all the way down near the floor there. Mat pockets on both of the front seats, overhead lighting. There's your manual rear sliding window like I mentioned. You do have a center armrest with 2 cup holders integrated, so it's the same thing there. And as a whole, in terms of legroom in my rough driving position, I would say I have maybe another inch or so of legroom versus that of the Ranger. Footroom is very similar, and headroom, I would say I have maybe another ½ an inch or so versus that of the Ranger. But as a whole, These two trucks are extremely similar here on the inside in terms of the physical space and physical size. I would say I like the seats just a little bit more here in the Chevy Colorado. They're both very comfortable, very soft, but the material feels a little bit nicer here in this particular truck, and I would say the seats and the foam integrated into them aren't quite as squishy feeling. They're more supportive in my opinion, but this truck is brand new. That one is a little bit older, so only time will tell how these two hold up. But as a whole, I'd say both these trucks are very similar space-wise here on the inside, but I do like the technology here in the Colorado just a little bit more. Now coming over here to the passenger front seat, like I mentioned, you cannot get a power passenger seat here on any Colorado. You do have to go over to the GMC Canyon lineup. So this is just a 4-way manual passenger seat, finished in the same black leather material. Now under the hood of both these two trucks, you'll find very similar turbocharged 4-cylinder engines. However, the power output between the two is quite different. So starting out here with the Ford Ranger, you'll find the 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbo paired to a 10-speed torque converted automatic. This puts out 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque through the rear wheels or all 4 wheels if you put it in 4-wheel drive or have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Now over here in the Chevy Colorado, you'll find a 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired to an 8-speed torque converted automatic. Now this engine has several output variations depending on which truck you get. Now here in the Z71, it comes standard with the Turbo Plus, which is the middle output version, or the low output version of the high output engine, if that makes sense. This puts out 310 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque in its standard mid-trim form. However, you can upgrade that via a dealer installed tune for about $495, which bumps up the torque figure to 430 pound-feet of torque, which is actually the same as the full-size Silverado with this exact engine, or that comes standard in the ZR2 Colorado and all GMC Canyons. So as you can see, the power output between these two engines are quite different, especially in the torque figure. You have 310 versus 390 pound-feet of torque that is upgradable to 430 pound-feet of torque out of a 2.7 turbocharged 4-cylinder. So even though both are turbocharged 4-cylinders, the power output definitely goes here to the new Colorado and Canyon. So I think that's going to do it here on this side-by-side comparison of the all-new 2023 Chevy Colorado Z71 versus that of the current generation Ford Ranger. Now I'm curious to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, especially if you own a current generation Ford Ranger and are interested in purchasing or interested in just looking at a new Chevy Colorado or GMC Canyon. What are your thoughts on the exterior, interior design, the feature set, the overall powertrain, stuff like that, versus that of your current Ford Ranger? And of course, if you are by chance interested in this Colorado behind me, it is available for sale at the time of filming this video, so make sure to reach out here to Logan at Green Chevrolet here in East Moline if you guys are by chance interested, as I'm sure it will sell quickly. Now, as far as my quick opinions and overall impressions between these two trucks side by side, I would say I like several aspects of the Chevy Colorado and a couple of the Ford Ranger. The first one on the Colorado, I really do like the seating position. The new redesigned seats are very nice and a huge upgrade over that of the prior generation. Like I said, the interior technology with the Google integration I really do like as well. All the gloss black plastic on the inside, not so much a fan of. And of course, the textured soft touch material on the armrest, the door panels, and the dashboard. While depending on where it's used, it's not so bad, but to me, on the touch points such as the center console and the armrest, I would personally like to see that changed out to a smooth leatherette material similar to that of some of the Canyon trucks, or even of that of the other trims of the Colorados also get smooth materials. Not sure why they went with textured here on the Z71, but outside of that, I would say the interior for a most part is extremely comfortable on the Colorado and very comparable in terms of the overall physical size, despite losing about an inch of rear legroom. Now, as far as my first impressions of the Ford Ranger, to me it just looks like a dated interior, but at the time, especially for the generation overseas when it came out, it was a very nice truck, had the newest, latest, greatest technology, and even in this older generation, as you can see, you could get Ford Copilot 360 with adaptive cruise, lane keeping assist, front and rear parking sensors, and a bunch of other equipment, which was very nice, which just made its debut here on this generation Colorado. So from that aspect, I think the GM trucks were just a little bit behind, but in terms of overall driving dynamics, just the overall feel of the truck, I would say the Chevy Colorado to me is the better one. I did drive the Ford very briefly on the way up here, and I would say it's just a little bit too soft for my liking. liking both the suspension, the overall just feel of the truck. The engine does sound a little bit more truck-like in the Ford. I've seen some complaints or just some comments about that in the GM 2.7s. I would say I really don't mind the sound of the 2.7. I like the turbo whistle noises, but as a whole, I really think the Colorado drives a lot better versus that of the outgoing Ford Ranger. But of course, this one is brand new. That one is used, so it has some miles on it. But as a whole, I would say the GM trucks are just a little bit more refined, a little bit more dynamic feeling, even though again, it is a mid-sized truck. But nonetheless, I just like the way the Chevy Colorado drives a little bit better. With all that being said, let me know your comments down in the comment section below, which one you like better, which one you think is a better deal. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.